49ers moving up to get Lance at 3 or the Patriots holding at 15 and getting Mac Jones?
Skip, I believe both teams got the guy that they wanted. Kyle Shanahan knew at 12 he was not going to be able to get Trey Lance. Coach Belichick stood pat. Now, everybody, Coach Belichick's looking to move up, but his history and his 20-plus year history of running the Patriots, that's not normally what he does. He doesn't normally move up. He normally moves back to acquire picks. Both guys got what they wanted, Skip, and the thing is with the Patriots, they didn't have to give up anything to get him. They gave up no assets. They gave up, so when I look at this, Skip, it's a situation. If I can get the car that I want at the price that I want, I'm going to take it. It's like Kyle Shanahan realized that, you know what, if I let this car go to auction, I'm not going to be able to get it. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and bid it before. I'm going to see if I can get it up off the people beforehand. He couldn't wait to draft night, Skip, because what if somebody else moves up to the 3 spot and says, well, okay, we'll give you this. Kyle Shanahan moved early. They made this move in February, March, to go up to number 3 to get this guy. Skip, I believe the big difference between the guy, and I think ultimately what led Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch down this path, is that they believe Trey Lance can make more plays off script. If we call a play, it breaks down. We believe that guy can make a play not only with his arm outside of the pocket, we believe he can make plays with his legs. We believe we can call diagram runs, and he can get us. Now, I'm not saying, Skip, they're going to use him like they used Lamar Jackson. They're going to use him like the Cardinals use Kyler Murray, but we can steal a 5 yards here, 5, 6, 7 yards there by running the ball. Mac Jones, Skip, is prototypical. I'm not saying he's going to be Tom Brady, but he's Tom Brady when Tom Brady was coming out. Basically, a drop back pocket passer. Now, he has more athleticism than Tom. He can get outside of the pocket, but that's not where his bread is going to be buttered. It's going to be in that phone booth, Skip. You know, that's 7 by 9 between those 2 tackles, about 9 yards deep. That's where he's going to make his hay. Can he get outside and make plays? Sure. But that's not what he's going to be great at. So I believe when it comes down to it, Skip, if everybody got what they want, why is anybody disappointed? It's like, I didn't give up anything. I stood at 15. We thought all along that was the guy because we know one thing. Coach Belichick loved Alabama. He loved their players. He's taking more of their players. He knows Nick Saban. He knows they're well coached. He knows they're disciplined. They're smart players. So I'm not surprised that Mac Jones sitting on the board, Coach Belichick took him. I like Trey Lance. I love his ability to escape the pocket. I just believe Trey Lance, because he went to Kyle Shanahan, ultimately he'll have the most success because I trust his play calling more than I trust any other play calling. And I've seen Kyle get more out of his quarterbacks than Josh McDaniels has gotten out of here. Because Josh McDaniels really hadn't had any success other than with Tom.
Okay. So that took a while for you to get to the conclusion, and you finally answered Jenny's question. You finally said that Trey Lance was the better pick than Mac Jones.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
Even though you took your stand maybe a week or so ago and you said that Mac Jones will be the second best quarterback in this bunch. Yeah. And you campaigned for Kyle to take Mac Jones at number 3.
Yeah, I believe coming out of the draft that Mac Jones was the second best quarterback behind Trey Lance, Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
But when you break it down, Skip, I trust, and remember I told you yesterday, Skip, I trust Kyle Shanahan, whomever he selects, because it's Kyle. And because I know what this system does for a quarterback, I trust him more than anybody, all the other. I don't know who the coordinator is at Jacksonville. I don't know who the quarterback is at the Jets.
It's Urban Meyer.
Okay.
It just is.
I trust Kyle Shanahan calling plays more than I trust Urban.
Okay. I got it. So I knew your emotions would be somewhat mixed here because you love Mike Shanahan because you played for him.
I did.
He helped make you what you were, and you believe in him, and so you believe in turn in his son.
Yes.
And yet, you believe in Coach Belichick because you do not like Tom Brady, even though you're on a Facebook Live with him last night. Did you have interaction?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah?
I asked him, I said, well, let me ask you this, Tom. I said, would you be willing to give back 2 Super Bowls to win that perfect season Super Bowl? He's like, absolutely. I'd give it back in a heartbeat. So that's
what was it, 19-0?
Yeah. I said, now you do realize now, instead of 7, that makes you have 5. He's like, I don't care.
Really?
He also told me, he said, man, I said, Tom, You could upstage Aaron Rodgers if you just say you're going to retire right here today. He says, if I retire, what would you guys have to talk about? He said, Skip always have my back. He said, I thought you was my boy.
Did he say that?
Yeah, what he said.
Yes, yes, yes.
He said, Skip.
That just made my year. Thank you. Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. Thank you.
He said, Skip always have my back. He said, I thought you were my boy, and you always picking against me. I said, well, I got to get my due back. I said, you cost me about 30 cases of due.
That is correct.
And I said, I'm going to get it all
back. Way to go, Tom.
I said, but if you retire, I can get it back real quick.
Oh, Tom just won the equivalent of another Super Bowl last night against you.
He did.
Thank you, Tom. All right, back to the question at hand. I believe that Kyle Shanahan, just after they traded up, and I was shocked by the trade because I kept telling you, you went to 3, you didn't go to 2,
right.
So you're going to have to trust that the Jets are going to take Zach Wilson, and they trusted, and it happened. I don't know why. I kept telling you, but that's a whole other topic for another moment in this show.
Okay.
But I believe that it gave Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch more time to then dive into just how good is Mac Jones. And they both said last night, we loved both of them, and we thought, one's going to be there at 3.
And I told you, it was between those two guys, Skip, it wasn't Wilson, but they knew Wilson was going to the Jets. But it wasn't between Justin Fields. It was between those two guys. Okay. They felt very comfortable. One of those guys will be there at 3.
And then they were very honest last night, but Kyle said that a couple of reporters reported as soon as they made the trade that they were homing in on Mac Jones. And to quote Kyle, he said, well, once it got out there, a couple of people reported that. We weren't going to correct that because we thought that could be an advantage for us. Right. So they just let it sit out there that they were zeroed in on Mac Jones because it helped them to quietly go about their due diligence and their business on Trey Lance. So I believe that Kyle came to the same conclusion that I came to just watching all the YouTube highlights. Holy cow. If you watch, as Kyle said, and John Lynch said, I watched an interview on ESPN, John Lynch said that Kyle called him at 9 o'clock one night and said, dude, I am getting obsessed with this guy. That you've got to watch what I'm watching. And Kyle said that he had graded his whole 2019, and he gave him 160-plus plays, and he said he's a hard grader. And he said I just kept giving him plus on the outcomes of the plays until I finally sat back, and then he took, with all the digital age that we have now, and he made a new tape and sent it to John Lynch. And John Lynch said he stayed up until 2:30 in the morning just studying that tape and came in a little late the next day saying, my God, this is it. We got to go this direction. Okay, so what I see is that they took the future, and they have Jimmy Garoppolo, and obviously now it appears they're just going to hang on to him for 1 year because, look, Trey Lance is 20 years of age. He has thrown the fewest passes, 318 passes, of any quarterback taken in the first round in the last 40 years. The closest was our man Michael Vick at 343. Okay, so he's going to take some time. But he is the greatest combination of tangibles and intangibles of all 5 of the quarterbacks. And that's where they arrived at their conclusion, because they go to the 2 pro days and they start sitting down with the North Dakota State coaches, and they realize that this kid did everything for them. They gave him full responsibility to set the protection at the line of scrimmage, to audible at the line of scrimmage. They put him under center about half the time, which we don't see college quarterbacks under center.
In Kyle's offense, you up under center. You don't just use shotgun. You up under center a lot.
And they found him to be a play fake master. What do they do? What is the essence of their offense? It's misdirection play fakes. Where they catch you off guard with their run game, and they just run you out of the stadium. Is that not right? Okay. Well, can he not run the football? He is a gifted runner of the football. I'm not saying he's Michael Vick or Lamar in speed, but he's a 4.5, so it's plenty fast enough. And he has very easy sort of pickup speed. He can hit top speed very quickly. He's got a bigger arm than Mac Jones. He's a much bigger man than Mac Jones. He's much stronger in the pocket than Mac Jones. And in the end, Belichick sat at 15, and I'll give him props for that because he didn't spend anything to go up for Justin Fields, as there are many runaway reports about. But he took, to me, the poor man's Tom Brady. And I underline poor man's because right now, Bill Belichick is a poor man when it comes to his roster. Last week, Pro Football Focus ranked their roster 20th. Well, it's in large part because he's been such a terrible drafter of talent that it has gone down, down, down until the cupboard got bare and they spent in free agency and tried to beef up what was left of their roster. And he did some nice things with the roster. He overspent for everybody, but they were desperate. And now they're desperate to have the next Tom Brady. And I feel sorry for Mac Jones. And I do think he's a tough kid because it was he chose to go to Alabama when they did have Tua and they did have Jalen Hurts. And obviously he just stepped right in and said, I can do this. Right. So I don't think he'll be overwhelmed by the pressure. But all of a sudden the spotlight is going to go off cam onto Mac Jones because Patriot Nation is going to say, we finally got our Brady.
Correct.
And remember, Brady's got everybody back next year in Tampa, so the pressure's only going to ratchet up on Mac Jones and Bill Belichick to live up to Tom Brady in New England, right?
Yep.
Okay, so in the end, this is what I love the most. We had Trey on yesterday.
Right.
But he's a film junkie. His father was a cornerback who played in the Canadian League and also Canadian Football League and the World League at London Monarchs. And he taught him well, and he instilled in him an extremely strong work ethic. But this kid has the highest football IQ of any of these 5 quarterbacks. Again, huge talent, big mind, lots of mental responsibility, chip on shoulder because the University of Minnesota, where he dreamed of playing, rejected him as a quarterback and said, no, you can play safety or linebacker.
Right.
Okay, so now he goes to North Dakota State with the biggest chip on his shoulder of any of the 5 quarterbacks. And his number one priority is breaking down tape of NFL games and ball security. What kid have you ever seen come out of college with ball security in his head as this is my number one priority? Right. It's the essence of winning championships is ball security, right?
Gotta take
you just cannot turn the football over. So what does he do in his first year starting for North Dakota State, which is the perennial, power in that FCS? He goes 28 touchdowns to 0 interceptions, and they go 16-0 and win the national championship. You can't underestimate that, even though it's lower class competition. I get all that.
But even at lower class competition, Skip, the thing that you look for when you see a guy at that level and he's playing lower competition, does he dominate? Not is he just getting by, does he dominate? He dominated, as you mentioned, the 28 touchdowns, the 1,100 yards rushing, the undefeated season, the national, because that's a lot of, Skip, when you go there, they're the Alabama of the FCS.
They are. That is correct.
That's what they are. They're the Alabama of the FCS. And so he was filling in for a guy that just went number 2 overall in Carson Wentz.
You don't think there was some pressure
Absolutely.
in 2019?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
So in the end, I believe Mac Jones will be only as good as the talent around him.
Right.
And he had obviously great talent around him because they had the second most first-round picks last night of anybody in the history of the draft.
Yeah, they tied with the Canes in 2004-06.
Right? Okay. And they could have had more, actually.
Barmore slipped into
I was surprised. I actually thought Tampa might take him with 32.
I did, too.
Didn't.
That's what I was thinking.
Took that kid Tryon, who opted out at Washington last year, but he can rush the passer. So the point is, I've read this to you before once, and I'm going to do it again, but Lance Zierlein I have highest respect for because he breaks down these draft profiles for NFL.com, and he wrote about Mac Jones. While the production looks great, he has clearly benefited from the wealth of riches up front, in the backfield, and at wide receiver. Well, I think we all agree with that.
Right.
He has a tendency to play with some panic when pressure gets after him, and he could struggle when things aren't optimal around him. Jones has good backup to low-end starter potential. Well, that's how I saw him. He was sensational last year because he was surrounded by sensational. So, again, when Trey Lance grows up, he will be able to lead and lift a team to the highest level. I believe that Mac Jones will never be more than a product of what you put around him. And he will get the most out of what you put around him. But when you go up a level to pro football, he's going to have a harder time.
But that's what you do with young quarterbacks, Skip. What do you do? What did they do with Dak? They went and got him Amari Cooper. They gave him C.D. Lamb. They gave him Micah Gallup. What you do with young quarterbacks is that you surround them with talent. You see what they try to do with golf. You see what they try to do. That's what they're doing. What they're doing now, Skip, is that it's just not – only Tom Brady, for the longest time, could do more with less. And even Tom, as he started to age, what did he say? Even I can't do anything with this. Let me get my butt down to Tampa. Get with Mike Evans. Get with Chris Godwin, Cameron Brate.
The truth is, that's all you need to know about what happened to Belichick.
Yes.
And again, his reputation as a drafter is pretty pathetic.
No, he's not that good at that. Skip.
Okay.
Let's be
his
all the way real.
owner, a couple of weeks ago, called him out.
Yes.
And said the only reason we spent like we spent in free agency is because we have drafted poorly.
Yeah.
He said that.
Yes.
So there was some hot seat going on under Belichick last night. Then he made some smug comment after the draft about, I missed those mock drafts, you know, like I didn't pay any attention to them. Well, maybe you should have paid some attention to the mock drafts, right? So was I surprised that Mac Jones fell to 15? Not at all, because if it hadn't been reported that the Shanahans were interested in him at 3, I don't think anybody would have supposed that anybody would be interested until Belichick or maybe the Bears.
Well, we knew that we had a strong suspicion, Skip, that if it didn't go to Kyle at 3, he was going to probably be there for Coach Belichick at 15. Because nobody, no one else seemed to was in the market for a quarterback. Now the Bears, I think the Bears surprised some people moving up from 20 to 11 to get Justin Fields. So, but I don't think anybody thought all those guys basically 4 to 14, somebody in that range was going to get a quarterback. So Coach Belichick's like, And once he didn't go at 3, Coach Belichick says, I'm not moving. He's gonna be right there. He's gonna be right there when we pick.
Okay, so a story was reported yesterday that shocked me that Kyle Shanahan and Belichick are do not invitems, that they're no longer close.
What happened?
There's some animosity. I don't know, that they fell apart. I don't know why, but that meant that the Garoppolo back to New England was probably not that probable.
Right.
And so here we went with Belichick. Well, if it's not Garoppolo, I think he just got stuck like, well, I got to do this.
Yes.
And who is his best friend in coaching? It's Nick Saban.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. So you don't think Nick Saban whispered sweet nothings about Mac Jones?
Absolutely. Yes. And who's taking more, like I said, he's taking more Alabama players in the common draft, than anybody. That connection. He has, 10 on his roster since 2010. You look at Hightower, and they took Cyrus Jones, and he loves Alabama players, Skip, because I think Coach Saban is a chip off of his block. He knows they're disciplined. He knows they're going to be well coached. Yeah. He knows they're smart football players because they put a lot on your plate. They expect a lot of their players, and guess what? You can handle tough coaching. Because what is Coach Belichick? He's a very tough coach. What is Coach Saban? A very tough coach. So it meshes. It goes together. But Mac Jones, like I said, Skip, I love Mac Jones. I love the way the ball comes out of his hands. I love how he processes information. I love his accuracy. But what the really great ones can do in today's game is they can get off script. Skip, I don't know what's happening. Not go make a play. He's the guys that's probably in this draft, he's least likely to be able to go make a play, especially with his legs. All the other guys have outstanding legs. Justin Fields, Trey Lance might have some of the better legs. But when in Kyle's offense, Kyle believes that I can do the entire playbook, all 200 pages, and this kid will be able to absorb it and be able to go out there and implement it.
That is correct.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.